All Her, the podcast. I'm your host, Jordy Lucas. I'm the founder and editor of itsallher.com. I'm a presenter, an actress in a former life, and a mum to a toddler. I've got a lot going on, and I have a passion for making life easier and better for women. Now, yesterday we dropped part 1 of my chat with Abby Gilmore, where we spoke about life, loss, and motherhood. So let's get straight into part 2, where I ask Abby about her new business, which is helping families navigate co-parenting. Tell me about Shine.
Shine, yes. Yes. So I wanted to do cards for years, like honestly for years, and I just never knew how to execute them. But again, I think it was like the universe's way of telling me that like you're not ready yet. Like you can't be doing something that you don't even have you don't have a grip of yet. Like I was still I religiously would do affirmations with my kids. Like I just think that adopting that mindset early on, like I had to do it later in life. Oh my gosh, the gift for your children to have, you know, we learn so much from affirmations. We learn that we learn how to problem solve faster. We learn how to, you know, flip a situation and see and draw from the positives, even though it might not be a positive situation. It's like, well, what positive can we find from it? It's just, it's really rewiring and retraining your brain and changing the patterns. And if you've grown up in a really negative household, it can be so hard. You know, we can slip into that victim mentality, and we can adopt that sort of process to think about things, you know, in our life. So I'm just so focused on, I was so focused on making sure that my kids knew that, you know, they can believe in themselves. They can do anything. They can do hard things. All of that stuff they were doing from, Mila was 3, I think. So after my separation, that was the stuff I was doing with the kids. Just in bed, you know, I can do anything. I believe in myself. I'm like there was a whole list of them. And I kind of got thinking like these aren't specific, like this is just sort of to life. But what about some for parents and their kids who are co-parenting? I just kind of thought there is nothing out there for co-parents or the kids of co-parents, you know, like nothing. And I would sort of see the problems that my kids would come to me, just not problems, but like throwaway comments. Like, I don't know, Mila would meet a friend at school, you know, she'd go on to do prep in grade 1 and be like, oh, so-and-so, her mum and dad live together. Why can't you and dad, mum? You know, just not understanding. And I'm like,
how do you explain that?
Well, I just sort of said to her, I was like, okay, like, you know what? Everyone's families are so different. Like, so-and-so's mum and dad live together, but so-and-so's mum and dad, they don't live together. Yeah. Their parents, like, you know, they're not together and they don't get along. These guys, they do. And I'm like, you know, everyone's situation is so different. Like, and I think it's just about, I don't know, I wanted to make the kids of co-parents think that their situation's not hugely unique and weird. It's like, it's pretty normal, you know? Yeah. And I just really wanted to prompt parents that it's so important to watch what you're saying. I think that like it's so shit that kids have to carry the parents' baggage, you know, and sometimes I don't know they're doing it and sometimes they do. And I just want parents to sort of think, shit, like, you know, that poor kid, I'm conditioning my kids already at such a young age, and I'm their first example of a relationship. Like, I don't want my girls to grow up and have the belief that men leave. You know, I don't want it to be a really nasty or mean thing for them. I want them to grow up and know that, like, my parents separated, but I lived in 2 happy households, you know, but they were still such great friends. Or, you know, it doesn't have to be nasty. Yeah. And, you know, you don't even have to get along, but you still don't need to be speaking in a way that's going to hurt the kids. So that's where these cards came from. So I just wanted to, just make them so that when the parents read them to the kids understand them and get something out of it, but also the parents reading them have to sit there and go, oh wow, like yeah, you're right, you know, it is important. Or I don't know, just so many things that I really wanted parents to sort of understand, but I wanted it to be something that they can do with their kids. Yeah. Just really getting that connection as well, and opening the path for like a conversation, you know. One of the cards is like, you know, I have lots of places to keep my special things. So just like honoring that, like, no, I don't have just one bedroom. I've got lots of places to keep my special things. But, I know that, like, I can tell dad all the fun things I did with mum. He loves to hear all about it.
Yeah.
Like, kids usually will come home and they don't want to talk to you because they think they're going to upset you by telling you what they did with dad.
Yeah.
And a kid they should not have to feel like that. Like, imagine being a child and thinking, oh, I can't even tell mum all that. Like, dad and I bought ice cream because she'll get upset.
Yeah.
Like, a child shouldn't have to feel like that.
Bear
a
that,
mum should have to deal with that. You know,
Yeah.
a kid should say, Mum, Dad and I had the best date ever. He took me to the play centre. Like, he made me giggle. Like, it was so much fun. And standing there as a mum, that might sting a little, you know, because you probably want to be there.
Yeah.
But you deal with that as an adult with your brain, you know, who can process this, who, you know, it's your situation. That's the point. You know, not the kid, you deal with it. So that was really where I was coming from. And yeah, I mean, they've been taken so well. I have had the most incredible messages. Family lawyers are like wanting to implement them, wanting to give them in packages to families, like amazing. Child psychologists, like amazing. They're like, these are so fantastic and so needed. Like, thank you. And childcares and kinders, and oh my gosh, I honestly was blown away. It's one thing to have an idea, and I really believed in it, and I do believe in it, and I do it every day, like, but it's another to execute it and have other people see your vision
and praise it and
and really just like love the shit out of it. Like, I could not believe it. I honestly was like, well, people won't love it as much as me. I don't know if they'll understand it. It's a new language. Like, it is a new language. I thought that they'd read it and be like, too hard. Because that's the thing with mental health. Like, it is hard.
Yes.
And it is something you need to flex. It's like a muscle. Like, we need to consistently be doing these cards if we want the kids to get the benefits. So if I can't get the parents to do it, well, these cards won't be, you know, as well perceived, you know, like, and I just think, if you can give your kids one gift, it's this, like, and they will remember these words and these things long after the cards, you know. As adults, they'll be going through life with this new language that you have literally sat down and given to them. But yeah, like 8 and 9-year-olds, like, they can finally sort of talk to mum, you know, and that's the thing. Like, so many parents are like, far out, like, I haven't even been listening to my kid. Like, I haven't even asked them how they must be feeling, or I haven't known how to. So to have a card in front of you that's like saying, I don't know, like, I love the way my parents speak of each other. It makes me feel really happy. You know, you could read that card and maybe the kid might say, but mum, you don't speak very good about dad, or you don't, you know, and just to have that sort of brought up and be like, wow, like, you're right, and I'm going to try better, you know, I'm going to do better. I don't manage my emotions very well sometimes, but that's okay, I'm going to do better. So, like, you would never have had that conversation had you not read a card that sort of prompted you and them to think a different way. So it's really kind of, it exposes you to things that your kid's struggling with too, which can be really hard, but it gives you an area of focus to work on. So I just super passionate about it.
So obviously this is all about raising, you know, more resilient children that are in touch with how they're feeling and can manage
100%.
their emotions.
But also, I like, and this is the thing, it's like a double-edged sword. It's like, yes to that, but also to the parents reading it to their kids, it's really triggering something in them too. The messages that I've had from like wounded 30-year-olds, you know, like, oh my God, Abby, I am a 30-year-old woman and my mum and dad used to like play me in the middle, you know, and I could never tell mum how I was feeling. And I could never tell dad what I did with mum, and blah, blah. She's like, this is just one particular message, but very, very similar around that. But she's like, I'm 30 and today I just realized that I don't have to protect my dad to my mum anymore. I don't have to protect mum to dad. I can actually say, yeah, mum, I was just around at dad's today. She's like, I'm a 30-year-old woman and I still think that I can't talk about the other parent to the other because I might upset them. She's like, thank you so much for allowing me to like unpack that. You know, that's a story that I've carried my whole life to keep myself safe. And I don't have to do that anymore. And I didn't realize until I read your card. So there are a lot of adults reading these who have been through, you know, what their kids, I guess, are experiencing or going through. And I just think like how awesome that together you get to mend that. You know, you get to say it stops here. You know, we do it differently now. So I just, I honestly like, I love these cards. It's just like so many different uses. It's like a multi-purpose. Like there are so many different ways that you can perceive them. Yeah.
So how else do you encourage your kids to be mindful and to, you know, work through what they're feeling?
I think it's just about being with them when they're having that feeling and just not, I don't need to do anything. They're experiencing an emotion, like, you know, and I say to the girls, like, your experiences and the way that you're feeling and your, you know, your energy, it's like, it's literally energy in motion. Like, we just need it to pass through. So like if you're crying because, I don't know, Mason hit you, it's like, that hurt. And you can cry. I'm not going to say, you'll be right, come on, it's all good. So then you grow up thinking that, like, you know, I can't trust myself because when I think it hurts, you tell me it doesn't. I got to keep going. Like, we're all good. So it's like, I just honor how they're feeling and I simply be, you know, it's like, give me a hug. Like, let's have a cuddle. Or if it's a bit more complex things, like, you know, Arlo might have hit Miller and Miller's hit her back. And then they both come running at me. I'm sure this is a very common incident. Normally, like, you know, we go, I don't know, Miller will be like, Arlo hit me, and then you go like, Arlo, don't hit, like, how could you borrow it? And she'll be like, but she pulled my hair, and I'm like, oi, what are you doing? Now I sit down and I go, okay, tell me what happened. And usually they're both trying to talk over each other. She did this, and I'm like, okay, I want one of you to talk. And I feel like, honestly, by the time one of them's finished, they're calm because I'm letting them tell me what's happened. They work out the problem. So Arlo and Miller will then go, oh, Miller, I pulled your hair because I wanted the texter. I probably should have waited. And Arlo's like, oh, it's okay, Miller, you can have the texter now, you know, so then they do it like that. So I think because it's really hard, you know, it's really hard to be that conscious parent. It's so easy to smack the kid's bum and put them in their room. It's really hard to not act on your own frustrations and just sit with them and be, because a kid having a tantrum is triggering something inside you. Like, a kid having a tantrum and a meltdown, we respond. And if you do the smacking, or if you're that kind of, you know, yelling psycho parent, which is fine. I mean, I've been yelling a lot too. But if you're doing that, it's usually something in you that you're not managing. And maybe as a kid it was because that's how your parents did it. Or maybe as a kid you didn't feel seen and heard. So why the hell should they? You know? So for me, I'm reparenting myself. It's hard. Like, I'm so depleted by the end of the days. I give everything to my kids emotionally. Like, I say to Leah, I'm just exhausted. Don't touch me. Don't look at me. Don't even come near me. I'll be in the bath for 3 hours because I give everything to them, because I want them to be, I don't know, I just want them to feel seen by me, and they do. I know they do. They feel so connected with me. We have an incredible relationship, and I don't know, I just hold space for them. So the way that I parent, I guess, it's exhausting. My friends all laugh at me. They're like, you've done this, when all my kids are climbing over me and theirs are just like, whatever. But I just like to hold space for them, and we sort out our issues by talking about it. I'm not trying to control them and put my way of thinking into their head. I want them to sort of problem solve themselves, you know, and they get to it eventually once we sort of stop and have the conversation and whatever it is. But I mean, it's hard. Emotions are hard. And if you've never been able to, if you were a kid that never got to express yourself, you know, if you were always told to be quiet, you're too loud, like,
or don't cry,
you'll be right, toughen up, then you're like, as an adult, you don't have the tools to give that to your kids unless you're aware. And I think it's just, for me, I just want to be really aware, and I'm so in tune with my emotions. Like I'm a very emotional person. I'm sensitive. Like, and my kids are sensitive because I've taught them to feel things as well. I'm all for feeling things. I just think that like we're human, we're meant to.
Yeah.
You know?
And I read something as well the other day was that, you know, we can't tell children not to cry because when they're teenagers, we want them to come to us when they're upset. And
this is literally it. It's like when you think about parenting these little toddlers and babies and things like that, like you do just that. You tell them to, you know, go away, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like, all good. But then, they grow up and you're like, come here. And they're like, no, like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
You've never once wanted me to come here. You always tell me to go away.
Yeah.
And same deal. Like, my girls know that I don't send them to their room. But I say to them, if you want to go into your room, like, have some time for you in your safe place. Like, that's your safe place.
Yeah.
It's not your punishment room. It's not the room that you go where, you know, I've labelled you naughty and bad, so you need to go in your room and spend time isolated, away and alone. It's like, hey, you're having some really big emotions. I can see that you're struggling with them. If you need to go to your room to have a moment, like, head up there. Like, that's your safe place. If you need to go there just to regulate, like, all good, hop up into your room. So, and I find that those little, it's like just changing words, you know, it's just like small little changes. And it makes such a huge difference. It can absolutely backfire. My kids are like, Milla's 6 and my mum will be standing there. And she obviously parented me in a way that she, like however she did. Yeah. And I reckon I used to parent in that way until I sort of learnt that I want to do it this way. Yeah. So she stands there and I'll have Milla, right? So I'll be saying, Milla, don't leave blah, blah, blah out, or I don't even know what it'll be. And then say I do it. Yeah. Like, I'll leave my rubbish somewhere. And she'll be like, Mum, don't leave your rubbish out. And I'm like, pardon? And then my mum will be like, whoa, like, you know, she's answering back or whatever. And I'm like, no, she's not. Like, she's actually not. She's calling me out. Like, because I don't want to be the boss. And that's what I say to Lee all the time. I'm not the boss. I'm not the boss of my kids. Like, and they say
we don't own them, do we?
No. And the kids say to me all the time, they're like, you're not the boss. No one's the boss of me except me. And I'm like, that's right. Like, no one's the boss of you. You are the boss of you. Like, and I trust you that you make the best decisions. And like, you know, you think for yourself so well. I'm so proud. Like, I just love that. So my kids now call me out on stuff. Or like Arlo will go, Mum, I think you just need to take a few deep breaths. You know, so if I'm feeling frustrated, and I'm like, you are so right, and it really bothers me. But yeah, like I really, I love that my kids can almost coach me sometimes because they've got the tools. They recognize it. Like they are using and applying the things that I've taught them, and it's so cool to watch. It's challenging at times, like I said, but I just think like how awesome. I can't wait to meet them as adults. Yeah. You know, like it's cool. I love it.
It is. And I think as well, like that's the thing, we're parenting in such a different way to how our parents parented us. Like I have those experiences with my parents all the time. Like Evie was having a bath at Mum and Dad's the other day and it was time to get out. Yeah. And, you know, she started to get a bit upset and I said, you know, it's not great when things that we love come to an end, but let's get out of the bath and we'll do something else fun. And my mom just gave me this look like, what the fuck
They're
are
like,
you going on about?
Are you guys okay?
Yeah, just take her out of the bath. And I'm like, no, this is how like...
Yeah.
But it is a completely different way of parenting.
Yeah, it's gentle. Yeah. But it requires patience from you because if you're not usually a patient person and you just want to get shit done and your kid is like, I don't see the world the way you do. I love the fact that I can sit in the bath and like, you know, like they've got such a creative little brain that they're in like a submarine and like they're having the best time. Whereas you're like, fuck man, I'm hungry. Yeah. Like get out. Yeah. Get out. Like I'm not sitting in here any longer. Like, and they can't process why you would want to get them out of this cool thing. Like, yeah, they're just so funny. And that's it. Like kids, I just think that they're really complex, but they're so interesting to watch. And I'm really enjoying that, like just observing all of the kids. And like Mason, he's 2. I put him to sleep, and if I lay with him over nighttime, he like faces me and I'll literally whisper to him, I'm like, I am awesome. And he goes, I am awesome. Aww. And I'm like, I am unique. He's like, I am unique. And like just those little things that I'm like, yay, like, you know, I did it with Miller and I did it with Arlo. It starts off with just, you know, your affirmations, and then it's like the problem solving, because once you've started the affirmations and then you get to the problem solving when they're like 4 or something, you see that they're choosing the positive, like they're naturally doing it. So it's like it all serves a purpose, and it all starts to work as they reach different ages and milestones, and you know, and then they go to school and like they're now finding themselves in a situation that's uncomfortable because someone's being mean to them, and it's like, so how do we deal with this? You know, what are we going to do? And usually 9 times out of 10 they'll come from a place of love. They'll be like, you know what, I've had a good day, maybe they haven't, I'm going to send them love. I'm like, yes, well done. Whereas normal bullying mentality is, they're mean to me, I need to be mean back. I need to match that energy. So I really sort of focus with the kids. I'm like, you know, pop your bubble around you, protect your energy, like go out and make someone smile today. And if you notice someone isn't, like, why maybe are they not? And they think about like, maybe their house isn't happy, maybe they got yelled at by their mum, maybe they don't have a friend today. It's like, so like, how do we fix that? You know, you don't have to fix people, but you need to like leave them with a good experience. You know, like that's really all I want my kids to sort of know and learn. And it does. Starts off with just some affirmations at bedtime, and that's what it can progress into. And that's what excites me. And I can't wait to sort of foster those sort of things into shine, and have more things to give people, and, you know, help them through some of these challenging years.
All the little curveballs life throws us.
Yeah, literally.
So you're 28, you've got 3 kids, you've got this amazing business. What does the future hold for you?
I'm not really a planner. I once planned my life and it totally went to shit. The plan, not my life. And I think that taught me a lot. Like, I don't really like to plan. I'm not like I see myself here in 5 years. I'm like I need to wake up every day, put one foot in front of the other. You know, I'm that. Like, I'm balls deep in kids right now. In the busiest period of my life, it feels. You know, I feel like I'm exhausted in every way, but so fulfilled. And you know, I know that one day I'll miss these days, and I don't want to be too busy working and too busy worrying about, you know, bigger things and what I, you know, trying to get myself to here or whatever. I just want whatever is meant to be for me to happen in its natural progression, and I just want to keep being mum. You know, I still think that my main job is mum. I think it's cool, like, to have that title of, you know, business owner and but it's nothing that I really strived for. I often joke that I'm probably the most ambitiousless human, like, but here I am doing what I do, and whatever. But I still really advocate for the mums at home working. I think you guys, you know, the mums at home raising their kids, you know, who don't get the title of a working mum, or who don't have the business, you know, the fancy added business to their name. It's like, you're still enough, and you're still doing incredible. Like, I think being a mum is one of the hardest things. So I've always wanted to advocate for just being a mum. I think that's amazing.
Because a lot of women say, oh, I'm just a mum, I'm just a stay-at-home mum.
They do, because the women that are working hard and stuff, like, I mean, all the power to you, and amazing, because to put on so many hats and whatever, but it can sometimes make the ones that aren't doing those things feel a little bit like, oh shit, I'm not doing enough. But it's like, just know that you are, you know, you are doing enough. You're doing more than enough. You are raising the next generation. Like, you have literally given up your life, sacrificed your body, your career, your job, to be a mum, you know, your identity, you know. So I just really take my hat off to mums who are just doing the mum thing. I mean, the mums that are working as well, incredible too. But when I was just a mum, I often felt like I needed to be more, because that's how I would gain respect from people. And I just want people to know that, like, you know, you don't need to do that. We keep seeking like this, it's like this appraisal from external factors that are just so irrelevant. I just think, like, create a happy home, you know, be that happy mum for the kids to come home to, and like, that is the best thing you can give yourself and your kids, you know. turn off all the other noise. I mean, so many people are like, you know, I'm doing amazing things, I'm so rah rah rah, but they're not really truly happy. It's like, but I just think forget about what everyone else is doing and just do you. I'm proud of my business, and I love that my cards get to help people. And I think that like the perfect business for me was something that served a greater purpose to me. Like it's something that I can give to people, that they can truly use, and it will change their life if they do it consistently. Like that's my kind of business. You know, I love that. I love that is exactly the purpose of it. It's so me. Like, it's just kind of like the gift that keeps on giving, you know, and you can pass on that knowledge and that power, and you can watch your kids' little minds evolve, and you can see them go to school and problem solve better, and like handle situations that are negative in a better way. And like, you know, that's how I see us like changing the world, you know, and that's just my job as a mum at home. I've just turned it into a business to help others. But yeah, my just a mum role is literally changing my kids' lives so that they can be really cool humans.
Abby, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and I will leave all of the links to Shine in the show notes. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of It's All Her, the podcast. If you have loved this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen, and we'll be back with you next week.